Hey guys, Zen here, and welcome back. In this video, we're going over the recent buffs and nerfs that Ubisoft have come out with in Rainbow Six Siege. We're also going to speak about what's expected for Year 5, and there's always some thoughts, right? So let's get right into it. But if you are new, make sure you subscribe and click the notification bell to help us get to 200k. Let's do this, guys. First, we can talk about the latest patch to the test server, and it's actually changing quite a bit here. So first, we have a nerf to the shield operators in the game, and they're going to be making it so that it now requires 2 melee attacks to actually kill the enemy. Now, for a while now, the community has been asking for the devs to step in and do something about shields in the game. Over time, and this has been something that surprised me quite a bit, but shields have become very aggressive in the meta, and you're constantly seeing ops like Montagne being banned because he's able to push the objective almost unscathed, and if he does make it on site, it's very easy for him to get up in your face, drop the shield, and melee you to death without any real way of preventing it. Sure, there's always traps and ways to kind of slow down this push, but ultimately, once Monty is in your face, there really isn't much you can do. Now, I think most people are focused on Montagne at this point because he's the one that's become very challenging to deal with as of recently, but this is yet another huge nerf to Blitz, and I think this affects him in a much more negative way than it does Monty. The thing with Blitz is that he relies so heavily on that 1-2 punch of flashing the enemy up close and pushing in for the finishing melee. Dropping the shield and going for the pistol kill is an option, but it puts Blitz at even more of a risk and can get him easily headshotted. Now, I know Blitz is probably the more frustrating of the two, but this to me is just ending this man because that second melee will literally be everything to him, and you also have to acknowledge that when Blitz is near, everyone knows where he is, and teammates can get frantic calling him out, and so requiring that second melee leaves him more exposed and even more likely to be taken out. Now, this is if we're just talking about kills. If the goal is to down a bunch of enemies and have teammates clean up the kills, then sure, this won't make much of a difference at all, and hey, maybe it'll even promote more teamwork with Blitz as a result. But to be honest, I could be wrong, and maybe this is another full-on attack to Blitz, specifically in the frustration he brings to ranked games. Now, they've also increased the hipfire cone when a ballistic shield is equipped, so this will make it a little more challenging to keep everything but the pistol covered up and still pop headshots. There are a lot of shield mains that use this as a viable tactic, and it's because it works, but after this update, I think it may force shield ops to aim down sight, which of course leaves them vulnerable. No matter how you look at this is making shield ops less viable in the meta and also leaving them more exposed to being killed. As far as my thoughts, it's strange because on the one side, as a defender, I'll get the chance to live, even if it's for a second, which gives my teammate time to take him out and revive me. On the other though, even though I don't play him much, I'm worried for Blitz and what this means for him. Monty has become surprisingly aggressive over time, and no longer does he play the fly on the wall and focus on intel. He's pushing and hard to deal with, and this, I think, at least gives you a chance. But that's the update for the shield operators. Let us move on. Now, we have a few more operators being changed. Echo is being nerfed, and his yokai will only affect you for 7 seconds, down from 10. Now, if we're being real, in the event he isn't banned, Echo players probably won't notice this much of a difference. Yes, 3 seconds is significant, but it doesn't take away his two most crucial abilities, which are plant denial and invisible cameras. Glaz is getting buffed, big time, but essentially, now it'll take 6 seconds before you lose sight completely through smoke, and you'll be able to move and even strafe because of the reduction to the vision penalty, which allows you to be moving a little more before you can no longer see. In my opinion, this is exactly what Glaz needed to be brought back into the meta, and it has me shocked that these same mechanics aren't being brought to Warden. These two are two different sides of the same coin, and at least from my perspective, I really feel like they should be balanced equally when it comes to smoke. Yes, Warden has an automatic weapon, but that really shouldn't limit him in the same way Glaz is in the current build of the game. Hashtag buff Warden in the comments because he's the only one that's tailor-made to counter Glaz in a duel of smoke, and he's still the only one handicapped. Next, we have a nerf to Jackal and a buff to Nook. So Jackal will now only ping you 4 times instead of 5, and this is in addition to the initial scan ping. But those 4 pings will now only last 20 seconds total instead of 25. These changes were necessary, I think, for Jackal. Jackal is just difficult to escape once you've been tracked, and so making this adjustment will help with that. I don't think this will affect his ban rate much because I still think most teams would prefer rounds without dealing with him, but hopefully it'll tone down some of that frustration that this operator can bring to the field when he is there. Nook, on the other hand, is getting a buff. Now, her ability lasts 12 seconds, but also takes 12 seconds to refill. This is exactly what she's needed, in my opinion. I play a lot of Nook, and the one thing I'm always reminded of is just how short her ability lasts. I always need just a little bit more time to get as close as I'd like, especially with the shotgun, which is my preferred loadout. But yeah, super great update to the new op, and I'm really glad to see it. Finally, Maverick's torch is becoming slightly louder. If I'm honest, guys, I've always felt that Maverick is meant to be silent in nature, but the way he's actually used in the meta makes him somewhat of an anti-breach, so I'm not sure if sound is a big factor for him anymore. When he first came out, there was a lot of feedback that he was just too quiet, and after a few seasons and nerfs to how his torch works, that feedback wasn't as normal. So maybe it just took Ubisoft a while to get to it, or the community just got used to it, but the torch is louder. Not by much really at all, but it has finally happened. Maverick will still definitely be powerful, and I don't think this will have much of an effect at all on how he's played or when he's picked. Outside of that is really just a change to the reverse friendly fire mechanic, where now all it takes is for you to down an ally for it to kick in, so less TKs, guys. Overall, the update is big, and of course this is only the test server, which means that things can change before they release in the full game. Now, moving on, we have our first small update of year 5. So Ubisoft announced somewhat of a roadmap to some of the community concerns and some of the things they're looking to fix and when. Now, there's a lot here, but I wanted to go over the highlights and the biggest of the changes. The issue with the debris staying in a barricade after melee is a confirmed bug, and they'll be looking to have it resolved by year 5 season 1. Now, you may be wondering why something this simple will take as long as it states. Well, if you consider every single barricade in every window and door of every single map in the game, you begin to see the undertaking here. It's actually a huge fix, and one that will have a direct impact on gameplay, but when it is fixed, it'll make barricades more consistent overall, which I think is a big improvement. Speaking of destruction, Ubisoft says they'll be making shotgun destruction more consistent. They say, "We want to ensure that the destruction of wooden beams is reliable for both player comfort and ensuring we do not force players to spend extra time attempting to destroy wooden beams. The target fix time for this is for hopefully a future patch this season with year 4 season 2.3. Now, I can't tell you how big of a change this is for me personally. I actually spend a lot of time fixing beams, whether that's from impact grenade holes or shotgun made rotation holes on site. There's a lot of time wasted on fixing those wooden planks that you just can't vault over sometimes. And so this is a change that I think is great. And again, because it saves time, it has an impact on gameplay and might even allow you to play a little bit more consistent overall yourself. So really a serious change here that's going to benefit pretty much everyone that plays this game. And then finally, a change to Smoke's gas canister. Now, I'm sure you're aware Smoke's gas canisters work differently than regular smoke grenades. Grenades make somewhat of a smoke dome that basically doesn't clip through walls. The canisters do clip through walls and are still client side to my knowledge, so even to this day, they're very inconsistent to work with. And I feel like that's somewhat of a theme in this video, consistency. So what they're looking to do is to rework them to act like Capital's firebolts, where they kind of naturally spread over time. The target launch for this is next season, with year 4 season 3, so not too long to wait here until it's fixed. They go on to say, "We have encountered an issue and we'll be pushing this change to season 3 to ensure that it is released in a more comfortable state." All in all, this is good news, if not great news for Siege, and even if you still have issues with the game, these updates prove that Ubisoft is listening at the very least. On top of making new content through the years, the devs have always had the commitment of keeping the older content up to date and fresh, and updates like this are great examples of that. This is one of the reasons that the game has had the legs it has, is because of the support behind it. But that's the video, guys. There was so much to cover and even more to talk about in future content, but what are your thoughts? Do you think this change to shields marks the end for Blitz? And what do you hope for in year 5 of Rainbow Six Siege? Leave everything in a comment below. If you did enjoy this video, please drop a like and subscribe with notifications if you're new. With that being said, it's been Zen. Hey, I'm out.